This video comes with a flash and images notice. That's how you know it's good.
Genesis. Really? Genesis? No, we can't do Genesis. There's no way we can do Genesis. First of all, it's one of the books of the Bible you don't touch with a 10-foot pole. It's insane. There's R-rated craziness from beginning to end. You got murder, you got betrayal, you got sexual promiscuity. No, we're not doing Genesis. Besides, we try to keep these things short. If we were going to do Genesis, we'd probably have to do it at least 3 or 4 parts. And who's going to want to do that? Genesis is your first book of the Bible. If you didn't know, it literally means beginning. It means how things got started. Now, Genesis is answering the question, what happened? How or what are we here? Not so much the how, but it's more what are we here? Like, how did we get here? What's going on? And it focuses mostly on that question. That's the question it focuses on. And what you have to understand is it doesn't so much answer the how, like the intricacies of how God pulled off what he pulled off. It's just what he did. And in our Western minds, in our American minds, that drives many of us crazy. So Genesis opens up with the creation of the universe. There's just darkness. There's nothing going on. There's nothing. And then all of a sudden, God's like, let there be light. And there's light. There's light. And then God's like, okay, I like where this is going. Let's do some more stuff with this. Maybe we can divide the light. Maybe we can have a moment where there's light and then a moment where there's not a lot of light. We call it like night and day, and that sounds really cool. And maybe we'll make this thing called earth, right? We'll create the heavens and the earth. We'll create outer space. We'll create heaven. We'll create earth, and we're going to make separations with it, with like some land and some water. Maybe we'll make some sea and some land, and maybe with that land we'll make some trees. We'll make some plants. And, now we got water and trees and plants, and maybe somebody wants to eat those things or live in those things or live on those things. So we'll create some fish and some birds and some animals. And as each day passes, as this process goes on, God always says on each one, it's good, it's good, it's good. It's always good, it's always good. And as he's making all these good things, he then realizes there's something missing here. So what he does is he takes the dust of the ground, clay basically, and forms it into a being that he says is in his image. And he breathes life into this clay being. And he calls it Adam, which means man. Now, I should mention at this point, there are some people that question the validity of what's called a 6-day, technically 7, although he rested on the 7th, 6-day creation. Like, how did God pull this off in 6 days? The age of the universe is billions and billions of years old. How do we justify this thing? There are some people that say that though God made this thing in 6 days, he didn't do it in 6 consecutive. Like there was a day he made a thing and then time passed, and then there was another day he made a thing and then time passed. But then there's other people, those are called the old earth creationists, by the way. Then there's a group of people that say, no, it was 6 consecutive 24-hour days, boom to boom, boom to boom, 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 boom. They're called the young earth creationists. Now, if you want to believe in old earth creation, if you want to say it's billions of years old, that's perfectly fine. Just understand that if you go into a bathroom mirror and say that, Ken Ham will come out and murder you. So, now you know. You're welcome. Just be aware of that. So, again, 6-day creation, and he made Adam, right? And Adam looks really, really lonely. There's no one else. He's just really lonely. And God feels for him, right? He doesn't want to be lonely. So he's like, hey, I made all these animals and stuff. How about you name some of these animals? So Adam starts naming all the animals. So, for example, there's an animal, and this animal goes, ruff, ruff. And he's like, I'll call this a dog. That's a great name. And this animal goes, meow, meow, and the dogs don't like it. And so we'll call it a cat. There you go. We'll call it a cat. And this one over here won 6 NBA titles without having to change cities. We'll call that one a goat. good. And he just went on and on and on and just named off all the animals. But it just wasn't working. He was still lonely. There was something missing.
Rex, we are the Rex. Celebrate another one of birthday bash.
Eve.
It's your birthday today. Take it ice cream, it's on its way.
So, God told him to take a nap, and God, as Adam took his nap, God took one of his ribs and boom, and made a woman. And Adam looks at the woman, he's like, hey, what's up? This is good. And God's like, you're right, it's good. And everything was good. And on the seventh day, God rested. Because anytime God does a wonderful thing, the important thing, the proper response is to simply sit back, rest, appreciate. There's nothing else you need to do. So he places them in this garden called the Garden of Eden. Lots of plants, lots of cool things going on there. And he gave them only one rule. Just one. There's a tree in this garden. It's called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. There's fruit on it. Don't eat that fruit. That's all you got to do. Everything else, free game. Whatever you want to do, go for it. Just don't eat of this one tree. What could go wrong? So one day, Eve is by herself walking through the garden. And Genesis chapter 3 mentions that there was a serpent. And the serpent was the craftiest of all the animals. He had a membership at Hobby Lobby. He was excellent at Mod Podge. He just had a lot of cool stuff going on. And he was very sneaky like a snake. So he comes up and he's like, hey. I don't know. He's like, psst, psst, because he's like a snake. So he's like, psst, hey, look at that tree over there. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil. You should totally eat of that tree. And Eve's like, no, we can't eat of that tree. That tree we've been told that we can't eat of the tree. We can't even look at the tree. If we do anything of that tree, we're totally going to die. To which the serpent goes, that's not true. Because apparently lying hasn't been a thing yet up until this point. That's not true. You'll be totally fine. As a matter of fact, you'll get like superpowers. You're going to be super awesome if you like get this thing. You'll be like zap lasers out of your eyes or something. It'll be great. You should totally try it. And Eve's like, you know what? I think I'll try it. So she did. And then after she did, she gave some to Adam. And at that point, they realized that they were naked. And they had felt for the first time shame. And in the midst of their shame, they decided to run and hide. So about this point, God comes back into the garden. He's calling for him like, hey, Adam, Eve, where are you at? They're like, we can't see you right now. Why can't you see you right now? Because we're naked. Who told you were naked? What's going on here? I leave you guys for like 2 minutes and like, what's going on? And Adam's like, well, the woman who you made for me, she's the one who messed up. And then the woman's like, the serpent which you made, it messed up. It tricked me. I totally just fell for a trick. I couldn't help myself. And the serpent's like, yo, what's up? So God is very upset, and he doles out some punishment. First of all, for the serpent, basically he's telling the serpent that there's going to be like some conflict between him and the woman and the offspring of this woman, and you're going to hurt its heel, but it's going to bruise your head. Some people say it's a prophetic message about the coming of the Messiah. Take that for what it's worth. And then there's Eve. Childbirth is going to stink now. So ladies, there you go. You can thank Eve for that one. It's going to stink. It's going to be painful. It's going to be complicated. Nothing fun about the childbirthing process is going to be great. There's going to be bloating. There's going to be mood swings. There's going to be really crazy food cravings. Yeah, all her fault. And then for the guy, listen, because you did what you did, you're going to be the ground's going to be cursed. There's going to be thorns. You're going to have to work super duper hard. You got to sweat super hard for your work and your food and your farming and all that stuff. And not only that, but now you're going to die. You're going to die. Sin is what's going to kill you, and you're going to die. And they got evicted out of the Garden of Eden. They're kicked out. They put a guard in the front with a giant sword, and now they got to find a new place to live, and they got to start a new life. And that's the story of Adam and Eve. But Adam and Eve doesn't end there. they move on with their life. And they have 2 kids. They have 2 sons named Cain and Abel. The Bible doesn't say much about Cain and Abel other than the fact that they're brothers. And like any kind of brothers, coming from the same mom and dad, they were absolutely nothing alike. Cain was a farmer. He liked vegetation, he liked planting, he liked landscaping, he liked horticulture. That was all the things Cain liked. Abel, he was an animal person. He was a dog lover, basically. He loved all of God's creation and animals. He's the kind of kid that wanted to be a veterinarian when he grew up. He needed all the love and cuddles from all the animals in the world, and he went into farming and shepherding and raising animals. And during this time, Cain and Abel, I guess they were brothers, but I guess there was some friction, and it kind of implied that Abel kind of may have been the favored kid the entire time, so when school comes out, Cain's like, hey, I made straight A's, and then Abel's like, hey, I made valedictorian, and then Cain's like, yay, I totally just passed go and collected $200, and then Abel's like, hey, I just bought Boardwalk and Park Place. Cain just couldn't win. The guy couldn't win. So when it comes to sacrifices, he just wasn't feeling it. Abel gives like this top-notch sacrifice, like of animal meat, and it's like really good. It's high quality. We're talking 5-star quality sacrifice here. And Cain, it wasn't his A-day. He wasn't feeling it. He just picks up some scraps that he found in his farm and just kind of threw that down. And lo and behold, apparently when you treat God like that, he's not happy. So God was very pleased with Abel's sacrifice, but not Cain's. And this made Cain a tad bit jealous. And it built, and it built, and it built, and well... So yeah, Cain killed Abel. Your first murder in human history. So Cain's now out in the field by himself, and God's like, hey, Cain, where's your brother? And he's like, I don't know. It's not my deal. What do you mean I have to keep up with it? It's not like I'm my brother's keeper. And God's like, what have you done? He's like, this isn't going to fly. There's terrible consequences with what just happened here. And Cain's like, well, if the story gets out, people are just going to be really mad at me, and they might want to try to kill me too. And God's like, no, that's not going to happen. We're going to give you a mark called the mark of Cain, but you're going to wander this whole earth as a vagabond, as a wanderer. You're going to be an outcast for this terrible sin that you've created. And this is ultimately the story of Cain and Abel. So what do we take from this? What do we get from this thing, basically? What you get is the beginning of humanity. And here's what we discovered about humanity. When left to our own devices, we're not always the best of people. We like to bend the rules. Heck, we like to break the rules. And when things don't go our way, we like to lash out in anger. It's almost as if we were designed this way. It's almost as if we were covered in something like sin, for example. We are sinful people, and we mess up and break things all the time. And Genesis is basically setting up this story about how things are broken, things are messed up, things are out of place and out of whack, and something or someone needs to come along and probably fix this whole thing, because when left to our own devices, we can't fix it ourselves. But, it's just one murder. It was just one thing of disobedience. It's not like, the whole world's going to go to heck in a handbasket and God's going to have to hit a big, huge reset button with a big body of water or something. Am I right?